English translation, 652nd contact Saturday, the 14th of May 2016, 2041 hours.
Hello, greetings to you, dear father friend.
Welcome and greetings too.
Thank you, but let me...
I also greet you, and from now on I will also call you my father friend, for you have become true to me, and I also want you.
You are kind of embarrassing me.
It does not have to be, because there's no reason for that. But you amaze me again and again, because you never get frightened when we suddenly stand beside you without having announced ourselves beforehand.
It is probably so because I have nothing negative and disadvantageous to expect from you, but only good love and security, just as it was already the case with Simyase and is also the case again and again with Ptah and Quetzal.
I can understand that, as I'm sure Anjana can. Anjana nods affirmative.
I have just arrived at the office, and I'm only sitting in front of the computer for 2 or 3 minutes because I have tackled the last articles for my 2 new books and wanted to finish them tonight. But that can wait now, because your visit is much more pleasant for me than the laborious and time-consuming coding of the sentences. So be welcome again, and I'm also looking forward to our conversation, especially because we've rarely seen each other over the last few months and only heard about each other during the corrections.
We were very busy and therefore did not have the time to talk to you, although we would have liked to.
But you still sometimes spent the night here in my office at my computer and listened to music CDs, as I have noticed on various occasions.
Yes, it was, but it was during our camps, which always arose when you were asleep.
Was probably not possible otherwise, but it is for me now an even greater joy that you are here again, and we can talk.
We did not come here today to have a private conversation as usual, which you do not record because it's different and important.
Aha, then there is an open conversation, which can also be retrieved and written down by me.
If that meets your need, it can be natural.
If that's the case, what's the case?
Even if you have remained silent to Ptah all the time that has passed since the 28th of February, 2015, and have not said anything about what has happened to you since then, and you have not asked him for help to help you medically, because you always refuse to do so on the grounds that you do not want to have more rights and advantages than the people on Earth, we still have knowledge of everything that has happened to you. And so now we would like to hear from yourself what has happened.
That is not so important to talk about, because on the one hand everything is over, and on the other hand the suffering that still exists results by itself.
But now we want to be informed in detail and personally by you.
Does it really have to be? I'm embarrassed about complaining of aches and pains.
You're not complaining because we know this is far away. We simply want to hear from yourself what has happened and how you have experienced everything, because we have to record your own statements and explanations, which fall within our area of responsibility. Although we have all the records from the control apparatus, we would also like your personal statements. We do not want this on behalf of Ptah, but as a result of our task, as I have already mentioned. Besides, Florena and I think you should have asked Ptah, or both of us, for help. This to relieve your pain, because we know from the records of the control apparatus how strong and hardly bearable these were and still are partial. Unfortunately, you always tend to trivialize such things with yourself, while with other people, you are always very worried about them when something happens to them, and they are in pain.
You're exaggerating, dear Anjana.
I'm not.
I'm of the same mind about that. So now we are only here to express the wish to be able to take you into our aircraft, to free you from your pain and also from the various sufferings.
I got myself into something beautiful unintentionally. But does it really have to be that you want me to do my doctorate?
this is serious, but we will not let you talk us out of it, dear father friend.
And what we are saying in this regard must now apply. It is simply no longer for us to see that you have been suffering from great pain for more than 14 months, and that you are still forcing yourself through your everyday life and your work with your pain. So if you do not come with us voluntarily otherwise.
Surely it is well meant if you want to force me so graciously with threat and violence.
There can be no question of violence or coercion, but we are only doing what must logically and reasonably be done.
That's your female version of my words.
You may interpret it as you wish, but your decision, which you must make to submit yourself to our desire, corresponds to reason.
You are so kindly consistent and logical that I have practically no choice but to get involved with your wish.
Well, if that's a promise at our request, then it's your reason. But now we would like to hear how your sufferings have arisen.
Aha, so your desire is a wish. The otherwise that you said earlier, I see that somewhat differently, just as a wish with the fence post.
And there's a back talk.
All right, I did not mean to be offensive. Well then, you can argue well with fence posts, then it should be just as you wish.
It really takes an unusual amount of words for me to understand that you need to fit into a medical treatment when it occurs. Ta also told us this some time ago when he explained that you are always trying to help yourself with medical means and only go to a doctor if you have no other option left and you are not able to go to a doctor anymore.
All right. I have to say that on the one hand, I probably know best what I can endure in terms of suffering or pain and what I can do about it. So I therefore also know when I have to go to the doctor and seek his help. Besides, I can bite my teeth the way I do not like to act like a wimp.
But the fact that you torture yourself with great pain and still work, that really does not have to be, and it is also not joyful for us to have to watch it, which is why we have decided to take you into our aircraft and do what is necessary for your health.
All right, okay, then you should have your will, which is the same as that of my dear Eva, because she also has a flair to take me to the doctor again and again, which I am incredibly sorry about. Well, let me tell you what happened. It was on the night of the 28th of February last year that I had to fill up the snack containers on the kitchen table, which is why I fetched various things from the pantry and wanted to open the door that had closed behind me through the door closer with my full hand. With my hand full of goods, I wanted to open the door again, but slipped out at the door trap and plunged about 2 meters backwards into a food rack and battered my left side of the body. At first I thought that the ribs were broken, as were the right shoulder and armpit, so 3 days later, I went to the doctor because of the great pain that took my breath away, but he could not see any fractures on the ribs himself. However, the pain persisted and over the course of the next 3 months was reduced by about 3/4 of its original strength. So I was able to get used to it, but it lasted until January 2016 to the same extent, and then it was further reduced. From January 2015, I was taken to the Winterthur Hospital due to severe heart problems or the consequences of a hardening of the heart arteries. After which I had to go to a cardiologist who explained to me that only one thing would help, namely an artificial heart valve. So I had to go to the university clinic in Zurich, where the heart operation was performed on the 12th of June, and the new aortic valve was inserted. Then everything went well, except for the severe pain on the left side of the body and the lighter pain in the right shoulder and armpit, which I simply got used to mentally. In September, the weather was very cold, which is why we heated the stove in the house, which I also used every now and then to have a warm apartment. Then, it was in the first week of the month, I grabbed a quite heavy beech log of about 15 or more kilos and weighed it laboriously into the fire hole, feeling that something in my right armpit was apparently rupturing and suddenly aching violently, in my shoulder and armpit and in my upper and forearm up to my hand. The pain quickly increased, so after a month I went to the doctor, who prescribed me tablets, but they did not help Jota. So I went there again and then another time and received other tablets, but they did not help again. When an old lady in Lippershvendi explained to me in January that you had been suffering from strains, etc., I was very happy. Bernadette used it to anoint my right shoulder, armpit, and upper and lower arm, which alleviated the pain for a day and a half, after which the effect of the ointment was over. Then, it was, I think, in February, I went back to my doctor, who then registered me for a magnetic resonance tomography, in which it was found that the tendon in the right armpit was torn by 2/3, and the reason for the pain was. But since I could not afford surgery because I would have been in a frame with only one arm for 2 or 3 months and more helpless than a baby, I refused. Consequently, on the 1st of March, I asked in a pharmacy whether a good ointment might be of help, whereupon Perskindol ointment was recommended to me. Briefly and well, I got these for myself and thought that my dear Eva could rub me from the shoulder. Armpit, also the upper and lower arm up to the hand 4 to 5 times daily, which was unfortunately not possible for various reasons. So Bernadette kindly jumped in, and until a few days ago she diligently lubricated and anointed. But then complications arose because I felt sick and miserable, because we had probably done too much good with the ointment. So we discontinued the ointment procedure, which was really pain-relieving but not healing and did not lead to the complete dissolution of the pain. 3 days ago now, everything has become worse again and thus more painful, whereby also in the left side of the body from the ribs, and probably also from the inflamed periosteum injured and inflamed on the 28th of February last year, which had not healed. Suddenly again large pains arose, which spread into the chest, the back, and the shoulder, and remained until now. That's the whole story.
So your bad looks are not surprising, and it's time we did something about it.
You should have asked Bata or us for help. It is inexplicable to me how you have endured everything now, and how you have also done your work. But now we will take you with us and try to relieve your pain, or to heal your suffering if possible, which will take about an hour or more. We're not taking you back until we can do something effective.
Let's go then.
It took longer than we thought. But now everything is so good that we can be satisfied. However, we cannot put the torn tendon together again, so you must be careful and do not lift heavy weights any more. But if you were to do so, the rest of the tendon could tear. So be very careful with it in the future, dear father friend.
Yes, because if something happened in this way, it would be very bad for you, and the 2 hours of work would have been useless.
I do not know how to thank you for your kind efforts. It is simply immeasurable how I feel fit and comfortable again without the pain. When I think of the last more than 14 months, man, oh man.
Do you see now what you...
Of course, but I cannot just get out of my skin or just give up my behavior that allowed me to hold on to it several times in my life.
Florena, it is time we left.
Yes, we have to go. But I still have to say that what you have said is certainly correct, dear father friend. But I still find that sometimes you are just too hard on yourself and should treat yourself with more care.
Without consistency, I could not do my job.
That is true, but you should still think about what I have just said. But now we really have to go because we have obligations that we have to fulfill. Farewell and goodbye, dear father friend.
I also say goodbye to you, dear father friend, and I wish that if you should come back to such a situation as the one you have now, then you call us. That's the way it's supposed to be.
Goodbye, and thank you very, very much.